In today's class, we will discuss about module 3, that is environmental pollution. So there are many energy sources, renewable sources, non-renewable sources, etc. So there are many of the consequences what the human activities or due to the human activities there are many human consequences. So for every action there is a consequence. So all due to the human activities we have caused most of the environmental pollution. Have you ever seen that a dog is causing an environmental pollution? No, right? Or a monkey is causing environmental pollution? No. So human activities have given rise to environmental pollution. So it is our duty, that is humans' duty, to curb the pollution which is made by humans. So what is pollution? Any addition to air, soil, water or food that can harm living organisms is called pollution. Up to a certain limit it is fine. There is something called as self-cleansing velocity or self-purification phenomenon. All those things can be done. Up till some point there will be self-purification, but up to a certain limit, up to a permissible limit, there will be pollution. Okay, so any addition of external particle to air, soil, water, food can be called as pollution. Pollution can be natural or by human activities. So natural in the sense due to volcanoes there are many harmful gases which come out from the core of earth. Those can be considered as natural pollution. Also in the wind storms whatever we have at that time when there is lightning, because of that we will get forest fires. Even that can be called as natural pollution or by human activities. Obviously we are the one who are causing pollution. Sources of pollution are of two types. What are they? Point sources. So these sources can be identifiable, such as pollution which is coming from the industries, pollution which is coming from car or from the chimneys, all those things. Again there is sub classifications. Non point sources, so not easily identifiable, so they can be pollutants can disappear, that is PM 2.5, right, in the air. All those things we can't identify it because it gets dispersed, smog and all. We can't actually see whether it is a fog or smog because smoke will also be mixed with it. That could be a prime example. So drinking water, what do you need to know? Color. So one thing I want to clarify is that water whichever you drink, whether it is a turbid water means you might know if it is not crystal clear, it doesn't actually matter so much. Okay, 5 Hasian units of color can be passed through, right? So next, if a water is very clear but it would even have some pollutants. So crystal clear water doesn't always mean that it is 100% pure. Right, next, odor and taste. It should be unobjectionable, so we can't have any odor or taste in water which we drink. Turbidity, 5 NTU, that is nephelometric turbidity unit. It should be 5. In St. Joseph Engineering College itself, in environmental engineering lab, we have this experiment. We see this. Even pH, it should be 6.5 to 8.5. Total hardness should be 300 mg per liter or 300 ppm. Iron should be 0.3 mg per liter. So all these things are the norms for Indian standard of drinking water. Water pollution. So man-made activities have caused environmental degradation. Any change in dynamic equilibrium in aquatic ecosystem disturbs the normal function and properties of water, which is known as water pollution. Any external addition other than which is supposed to be in water, we can say it as water pollution. So the major water pollutants are mainly organic compounds, inorganic chemicals, sediments, radioactive substances. Organic means nothing but the one which is actually putrescible, or it can be decomposable or organic compounds. Inorganic case, the one which is not decomposable, right. So, organic compounds we can see the examples as synthetic chemicals containing carbon from industrial effluents, surface runoff and cleaning agents. So, mainly chemicals, fertilizers, runoff, that is from the water whichever you see. If there is more runoff, then it will cause flood, and cleaning agents whatever you see, the tide, surf excel, whatever it is. Okay, that actually comes under inorganic also. So, inorganic chemicals, that is acids, salts and heavy metals such as lead and mercury, household cleaning agents, right. All those things, when it is used in excess, it will finally meet the wastewater system and it will pollute the water. We again have treatment of wastewater, which will be coming in the later slides. Next, sediments, mainly caused due to soil erosion. So, sediments, those are mainly caused due to the soil erosion. It will increase the turbidity actually. Radioactive substance, in the last module you have seen radioactivity, or the waste which is coming from nuclear activities, what are its effects. So, those substances will also cause water pollution. So, usually they are produced by medicinal industries or medicinal sources, industrial sources, research institute, nuclear test. Sometimes research people, they do not even know what they are doing, but sometimes it will be discarded as it is. It will cause so much of water pollution. Medicinal, it is nothing but blood and fuss, etc. Industrial, many of the processed industrial goods, they will have waste. Nuclear tests, right. Next, thermal pollutants, so release of hot water to water bodies. The water whichever we have, or aquatic life wherever it lives, there is a certain temperature that it has to maintain. If it is not maintained, it will be very difficult for them to survive. In the same way, for us terrestrial people, certain temperature we can bear, after that we can't know. So, we will use fan, AC, but what to do with the aquatic life? They do not have all those things, right. If the water is, you know, after a temperature, if it is increased, this will happen, that is there will be bad effect. Yeah, so the temperature has to be optimal, right. Next, inorganic nutrients, substances like nitrogen, phosphorus from animal waste, plant residues and fertilizer runoff. All those things, fertilizer runoff or whatever we have it, so it will take up some space, and due to infiltration it will run off, it will be infiltrated, I'm sorry, due to infiltration it will reach the groundwater. So, even groundwater is being polluted. Next, oxygen demanding organic waste, so animal manure, plant debris and sewage, waste from animal feedlots, paper mills and food processing facilities. So, these require a lot of amount of BOD, that is biochemical oxygen demand, and also COD, chemical oxygen demand. So, if BOD of a water is very high, that means it is highly polluted, and COD, if it is also very high, even that means that it is very much polluted. Due to, because of BOD and COD itself, the efficiency of a wastewater treatment plant or a water treatment plant is mainly seen. Next, infectious microorganisms, parasitic worms, viruses, bacteria from infected organisms as well as human and animal waste. So all these things can mix up in water and it can cause water pollution. Groundwater pollution, actually the water, the surface water, whatever we get is actually more in ground than on the surface. The groundwater, the pure water which can be drinked or which can be consumed by us is more in groundwater or it is in the aquifers than in the surface water. But even those are being polluted, right? So a major problem in water pollution, groundwater pollution, because that is the only one which is very pure. So groundwater pollution is mainly caused due to groundwater contamination by poisonous metals, right? So you can see some of the examples like mercury, cadmium, copper from tanneries and all the other industries. Groundwater has been getting polluted, agricultural waste, fertilizers, all those things are making it possible to pollute even the groundwater. So we will see in detail why groundwater are polluted. Excessive pumping of groundwater by shallow tube wells. So most of the things will be exhausted and once it comes out of the groundwater it will be polluted. However, also improper maintenance of sewage, all the wastewater will be infiltrated and groundwater will be polluted. Next, leaching of chemicals by rainwater. So there is a phenomenon called as leaching, that is the products or solid waste which is there, it will create some of the harmful chemicals. It will start to take form, right? Leaching we call it as. It will be very highly polluted, right? It will start taking up the pollutants of all the solid material and it is in a fluid format and they will in turn infiltrate inside the groundwater or infiltrate in the soil, and due to that is mainly because of the storm water which is infiltrating in the dump yard area, and then those leachate or leaching from the solid waste, it is called as leachate. So leachate, whatever it is generated, it will infiltrate into the groundwater and that will also be polluted. So example, in West Bengal along the Hooghly river course, so most of the groundwater have been polluted. Also in Bangladesh along Padma river course, so those parts are all highly polluted because of leachates. Method of determination of pollutants. How can we determine? Mainly BOD, biochemical oxygen demand. So how it is determined? Determined by using DO, dissolved oxygen. Same as we people, how we take up oxygen. In the same way, aquatic animals take oxygen through gills. It is dissolved oxygen. Less than 4 mg per liter of dissolved oxygen, if it is not there in water, the aquatic life will die, right? As temperature decreases, the dissolved oxygen will increase. As the temperature increases, the dissolved oxygen will decrease. I guess you come to the point that why temperature has to be maintained, because we want dissolved oxygen. So difference of DO in a gap of 5 days is found out at 20 degrees centigrade. So BOD 5 it is called as. So BOD 1 to 2 ppm is very good. It is actually BOD has to be 0 because the microorganisms which are there, they take up some of the organic matter which is present in the waste. Due to that, it will take up all the dissolved oxygen present in the water. So as it consumes, because of that metabolism, the DO level will decrease. So why the DO level is decreasing? Because there is so much of organic content. Organic content is taken up by microorganisms, and due to the microorganisms taking up, they will take up oxygen, the dissolved oxygen. So we get less amount of dissolved oxygen. So in turn we get to know that okay, there is so many number of microorganisms are more because there is organic content is more. So BOD is more, ergo BOD is more. So BOD level 1 to 2 ppm is very good. BOD level 3 to 5 ppm is moderately clean. BOD level 6 to 9 ppm is considered as somewhat polluted. BOD level more than 10 ppm is very polluted. Okay, too much of organic content. Chemical analysis, what we can do, the presence of chemicals like pesticides can be measured by analysis. There are various instruments, right? You can once come to environmental lab also in your free time, and you can check out all the instruments, right, to determine the water quality, right? Next, presence of disease causing organisms. So there should be no coliform colonies in the drinking water. That is nothing but E. coli. E. coli is mainly found out in human feces or animal feces. So E. coli shouldn't be there at all in water which we drink. Even E. coli determination is also present in the environmental engineering lab experiments. There are many of them. Environmental engineering itself is environmental studies, right? So we all see that practically in civil engineering actually. So wastewater treatment. Wastewater, it is one word, I am sorry, it is written separately, but wastewater is one word. So domestic wastewater treatment. Organic waste actually combines with oxygen. So with the oxygen, bacteria will react with the organic matter, and we get nitrogen, water, ammonia, and nitrogen trioxide. Those are all waste related reactions, just for your information. Next, municipal wastewater treatment. What are the things that are done? Main steps are primary treatment, screening, secondary sedimentation, ASP, and also it is called as activated sludge treatment. ASP is nothing but activated sludge process. Tertiary, that is disinfection. Right, in the screens directly you can't consume the river water, right, or even the pond water or lake water. So there will be some of the things such as cardboards or twigs or branches or some dead bodies of some animals, and all those things are screened out in the time of screening so that it will not hinder in the further unit train of treatment. Secondary treatment, sedimentation, that is settling up of grits, and also activated sludge process. The organic sludge which is there, it will be settled down, so that sludge will be taken out in the drying beds and it will be dried out, and that sludge can be used in the agricultural purpose. Tertiary treatment, nothing but it is disinfection. Disinfection is nothing but the killing of harmful pathogens, mainly done by chlorination, addition of chlorine. What we get in the water which we have, it is by chlorination, right? Also UV radiation or UV method is also there. Potassium permanganate method is also there. So activated sludge treatment, if we can see here, the raw sewage will come up, and due to it will go to primary sediment or primary sedimentation, so all the organic matter will settle down. Next it will go to aeration tank. Aeration tank is the one where oxygen is supplied in excess. So if there is carbon is a pollutant. If there is carbon in water, it will mix with oxygen and we get carbon dioxide and it will be let out. So in that way, when extra amount of oxygen is given out, it has its purifying capacity, water will get pure. It is called as aeration. So biochemical oxidation of organic matter will be done in aeration process. Then secondary sedimentation. Once sedimentation is done, again aeration, and again secondary sedimentation. In primary and secondary we get sludge. In both of them we get sludge. So removal of excess anaerobic bacteria. Anaerobic bacteria are the one which don't use oxygen for their metabolism or which use very less oxygen. So sludge is taken out, so the sludge it will be very active with anaerobic bacteria. So they are again returned to aeration tank. So once when it is active, it will be very it will be efficient. So it is called as activated sludge treatment. Whatever the organic matter, whatever the anaerobic bacteria are there, they become very active. So they will be again recycled. So it will be activated and come back again to the secondary sedimentation tank, where sedimentation of the sludge happens again, and so on and so forth. It is a cycle. So excess sludge will be taken out and it will have a very good amount of you know uh, mineral sorry nutrients. So that nutrients will be used in the agricultural purpose and excess of effluents is let out. So this is how we can see screening and sedimentation. So there is a big structure over here, right? This is how you see activated sludge treatment. This is how it will be in the treatment unit. So Mangalore, it is coming from Tumbe. When you go towards there BC Road or Puttur, you will get a toll gate, right? After that there is a small turn, Tumbe Dam. There you will get a water treatment plant from which water is coming to Mangalore city. So treatment in drinking water mainly has aeration to settle suspended particles and also to purify. Coagulation of small particles and suspended matter by lime and ferric chloride. So coagulation, when there are suspended particles, it will not settle down. So when coagulation is done, those small particles merge up and they become larger particles and they will settle down due to gravity. Disinfection to kill virus, bacteria. In general, we can say pathogens by 3 steps: chlorination, oxidation, and using UV light. One of the method is usually used, chlorination, because it is cheaply available and it is very effective. If a bleaching powder has less than 35% of chlorine, then it is not good for, it is less efficient, we can see, in the quality of bleaching powder is less, we can see, right? So that 35% of chlorine whichever is present, it will also decrease as soon as it comes in contact with air, right? So a good quality bleaching powder must have 35% of chlorine. So controlling measures, what can be done, right, to decrease the water pollution? Control of eutrophication, right? Eutrophication is nothing but excess growth of algae. All the DO will be taken up by the algae, and due to that the river or lake, whichever we call it as, it will be dead. So there is no DO, so there can't be any aquatic life. So that has to be controlled by taking up the or controlling the algae. Inactivation or destruction of pathogens, control of algal growth, blocking or proper treatment of industrial sewages before letting out. In that sense, we are saying 100% purification cannot be done, right? Removal of heat at thermal reactors, stopping or cleaning of domestic sewage entering main water stream, right? Sewage water and main water drinking water pipelines are different, so we should see that many of the controls have been done, but still we should see that it will not collide with each other and it will not pollute the drinking water. So create an awareness. The World Water Day is celebrated on 22nd March. Next pollution what we have is land pollution. So life on earth is getting horrible due to land pollution. The main reason may be listed as domestic, commercial, municipal, industrial, radioactive, chemical and metallic waste. Due to that, land is also polluted. Land pollution, water pollution, air pollution, all the pollutions are interrelated. If one gets polluted, other one is obviously polluted, right? In certain cases, biological activities and mining also causes land pollution. High pollution will be done because of mining, okay, because there is huge amount of deforestation. Mining is one of the notorious thing. Water pollution is there, air pollution is there, land pollution is also there. So because of land pollution, what are the things that happen? It is a direct public health hazard. External groundwater pollution, accumulation of hazardous substance. In later stage it will enter food chain, indirect impact on agriculture. So land pollution means it doesn't have minerals, or there is soil erosion, like not small soil erosion, huge landslides, etc. All these things are consequences of land pollution itself, right? And it will in turn finally enter our food chain. I hope you know what is food chain, right? And it will affect us. So protective measures, what can be done? Detoxification of toxic waste. So this is either by converting them into less hazardous product, chemical method, by chemical method, or biological degradation. Before letting out the byproduct, you have to make it less hazardous. Land or oceanic disposal, it should be properly done. Oceanic disposal center, like a center of the where there is more depth in water, waste can be disposed. That can be done in order to prevent land pollution highly, right? Next is non-hazardous waste management. So this is mainly carried out by either landfill. So landfill, you have the prime example of Mamanjur itself, that is a landfill site of Mangalore. So usually waste is disposed of at the borders of a area or a city. So border of one city is the entry point of other city. We can't do anything. So Vamanjur was selected for that, but landfilling was not properly done in a scientific way. That's why there is so much of smell in Vamanjur dumpyard site. So we can do something with the bioremediation. So what is bioremediation? It actually uses microorganisms for control of land pollution. Example, biostimulation, stimulation of biological activity. Inactive bacteria we can activate it, and we can put it for remediation of land or soil. Bioventing, injection of air or nutrients to unsaturated zone of soil so that they will get more minerals. Biosparging, injection of air or nutrients to both saturated and unsaturated zone of soil so that the efficiency will increase in the soil. Bioaugmentation, So inoculation of soil with microbes, bioaugmentation, it is a huge topic. It is a very huge topic. Next pollution, it is noise pollution. Okay, I just wanted to say that plastic, whatever we have produced as of now, it is the main source of pollution, right? Everywhere if we see, there is pollution due to this plastic itself. So scientists have found out a bacteria which can eat plastics. So recently in the news I had also seen scientists have found out one more bacteria which eats plastics even faster for their metabolism. So that is a good news, right? And one more thing what I wanted to say is scientists had found out, or they have gone to the deepest of the deep, up till what humans can get, obviously, to the part of ocean. But even there were fragments of plastics. So up to that level we are finding plastic. So that same plastic, it will be taken up by the fishes, and due to that there will be it will enter the food chain, and because of that humans are actually right now also maybe eating microplastics, right? Okay, fine. We will go to the next topic, that is noise. Any unwanted sound is noise. I guess this video itself is noise for you people. So normal 18-year-old person, he has an audio range of 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz, right? Sound is measured in decibel. Any sound which crosses the threshold limit is said to be noise. Okay, anything, we can't say it as noise because there are various sounds. All the sounds are not noise. Some of the sounds are also music also, right? So some people don't like rock music, and for them it might be also a noise. Noise pollution. So threshold limit for human beings to noise pollution is, in the industrial area it is 70 to 75 decibels. Commercial area it should be 55 to 65 decibels. In residential area it should be, that is where you are living as of now, it should be 45 to 55 decibels. In silent zone or in night, actually it should be 40 to 50 decibels. Very low limit is valid during night time because one has to sleep, right? Human health and noise. What can happen if there is noise pollution? Principal noise health effects are both health and behavioral in nature. So because of noise, health effects can be behavioral also. People can go mad. There is too much of noise. If he is constantly subjected to 45 decibels of noise, the average person, we cannot sleep. So 45 decibels also we cannot sleep. At 120 decibels the ear registers pain. We will get pain in our ear. However, hearing damage begins at much lower level, around 85 decibel. Right, at 120 you will hear, you will experience pain. Have you ever experienced pain because of voice in the ear? No, right? So you are safe as of now. But there are people who listen to music with the full volume in mobile phones. Even mobile phones nowadays, it gives the warning of higher level. 8 hours if you are listening to the music above 80 decibels, it is very bad for you. So always listen to music or anything else below, nearly in the range of uh, 50 to 60 volume, or less than that, for less than 8 hours a day, because there are people who always have their headphones in their ears. So it is very important to take care of your body parts, mainly eyes, ears, nose, etc. right? So apart from hearing loss, such a noise can cause lack of sleep, irritability, indigestion, ulcers, high BP, heart diseases. So noise pollution is very serious. Noise pollution is true, and because of that there are many consequences. So one burst of noise as from passing truck is known to alter endocrine, neurological and cardiovascular function in many individuals. So they are internally we will be affected. Prolonged exposure to such noise tend to make psychological disturbances. Noise induced stress creates severe tension in daily living and contributes to mental illness. We can also classify this such as transport noise, mainly constitute of road traffic noise, aircraft noise and railway traffic noise, right? Occupational noise, what we usually hear in the industrial area, so they even have hearing aid, that is, I'm sorry, not the hearing aid, protection for their ears, right? Neighborhood noise, loud TV, speakers, public functions, music, etc. are sources of this type of pollution. So as of now I am speaking to you, I might have listened some of the noises from the neighborhood also. So too much of it will also be a nuisance, right? If there are small children, we can't do in the neighborhood. That is what I have as of now. So we'll be always listening to some of them, yelling, and their parents scolding them not to yell. Right? All those things can be an example of noise pollution also, to a certain extent. So hazards and control: higher the exposure to noise, higher the ear damage. Obviously, it can cause psychological stress. It also affects migration of birds. There are certain birds, they don't have GPS or Google Maps. They migrate by the frequency of noise, right? So their migration will be disturbed. As a result, there will be disturbance in the ecosystem. Controlling measures: what can we do to control? So control of noise intensity at the source itself. So in the source itself we need to control it wherever it is coming from. Noise absorption measures we have to see. Use of protective measures by recipients, those who are hearing. Acoustic zoning, planting the trees. So trees take up most of the sound to themselves, right? So many industries have norms to build a green belt. 33% of the industrial area should have greenery, but most of them is not followed. So trees will take up most of the noise or sound they absorb. Next we can do is legislative measures from the government itself. Some of the rules and regulations should come, then only we can do something about it, right? Next, air pollution. So artificial sources, anthropogenic. So anthroposystem, ecosystem, in the first module itself I had told you, right? So artificial sources such as automobiles, industries, etc., whichever is done by the humans. Next, natural sources: volcanic eruption, pollen grains, forest fire, etc. Stationary sources: chimney. Mobile sources: automobiles. Point sources: again chimney or burning of wood, campfires and all, etc. Line sources, that is a series of chimneys or busy highway, railway line. All those are sources of air pollution. Major air pollutants are carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, ozone, right? Nitrogen oxide, sulfur oxide, hydrocarbons, particulate matter, that is PM. We can say it as PM, particulate matter, and lead, that is Pb. Carbon monoxide, how it is? Colorless, odorless, it is a poisonous gas. It interferes with blood's ability to carry oxygen to the brain, heart, and other tissues. So we have hemoglobin. So it interferes directly with it, and we can't get a 100% efficiency of absorption of oxygen by the blood if we are too much of exposed towards carbon monoxide. So they are dangerous to heart disease, unborn or newborn child due to formation of carboxyhemoglobin. Carbon monoxide concentrated hemoglobin is carboxyhemoglobin. Control, what can we do? Stop at the source itself, control top soil loss, right? Stop soil pollution, make carpooling. Carpooling is nothing but one person has one car but he comes to college alone. For example, yeah, Kaur. Yeah, my home is in Kaur. So from Kaur to uh, Mamanjur, if you come. So if I come with my car alone, and if there are many other person who are staying in Kaur, they will come with their own car. There will be too much of pollution. Rather than that, if I start carpooling, that is just share the fuel price, and there is 5 seats in the car, so there is less amount of pollution also, right? Or else you can go in the public bus or college bus. So carpooling can be done when you go, or when same kind of people go from one place to other place. Next, use lead free petrol, use catalytic converter in IC engines. IC engines, mechanical students, they know it better. Ozone, so ozone is a harmful gas not in stratosphere, in the lower atmosphere, and should not be confused with ozone in upper atmosphere. Why is ozone bad? Because ozone reacts with lung tissue. It can inflame and cause harmful changes in breathing passages, decrease the lungs working ability, and cause coughing and chest pain. Nitrogen dioxide, so these are produced by burning of fossil fuels, especially in power plants and motor vehicles. These oxides of nitrogen compounds contribute to ozone formation. These oxides also forming acidic particles in atmosphere, causing acid rain. In the fourth module we'll see in detail about acid rain. High level of nitrogen dioxide exposure can cause cough, feel short breath, and long time exposure causes respiratory infections. Sulfur dioxide or sulfur oxide, X is nothing but any number of oxygen could be there, all those things will be pollutant itself. So these are created in atmosphere by exhaust of fuel burnt in plants and from diesel engines. Like nitrogen dioxide, sulfur oxides also cause sulfuric acid particles. So those are the nitric acid, sulfuric acid, those are the main culprits of acid rain. Sulfur dioxide constrains the air passage, making it a problem for people with asthma and for young children. Next is the particulate matter, include tiny droplets of liquid and solid particles. These particles originate from burning of fossil fuels by industry and diesel vehicles. Everything, almost everything is coming from industries or automobiles itself. Right, particulate matters will be of the size 2.5 to 100 microns. So PM 2.5, PM 5, PM 100, all those things are mainly the size of the particles, particulate matter, right? So health effects are based on particle size. PM 2.5 is all very harmful. So these are highly dangerous because they can be inhaled deeply into lungs and sitting in areas where body's natural clearance mechanism cannot remove them. So they cannot remove them, that's why it is very harmful. Exposure to particulate matter causes wheezing and other symptoms in people with asthma. Next is lead. So sources are leaded petrol, lead smelters, incineration of lead batteries, lead containing paint and oil. So current indoors we have oil as of now, so they will have lead, paint, Asian paint, etc. Exposure to high level of lead damages the blood, brain, nerves, kidneys, reproductive organs and immune system. Exposure to lower level can result in impaired mental functioning and raising hypertension, that is BP, in middle aged people. So lead is also very bad for our health. Next is, so those were primary air pollutants, right? We get that directly. Next is the secondary air pollutants. Secondary are formed as a result of, or secondary pollutants are formed as a result of interaction between primary pollutants, that is ozone or PAN, proxy acetyl nitrates, smog, photochemical smog. So smog, what do you mean by smog? Coined from combination of two words, smoke and smoke and fog. The most harmful components of smog are ground level ozone and fine airborne particles, again from automobiles also. So the great smog disaster was happened in London in 1952. 4,000 people died in few days due to high concentration of pollution. Short term effect of smog indicates irritation to eyes, nose, throat, upper respiratory tract, infecting such as bronchitis, pneumonia. Other symptoms can include headache, allergic reactions. So if you are exposed to smog, these symptoms can be seen. Long-term health effects of smog can include respiratory disease, lung cancer, heart disease and even damage brain, nerve, liver and kidneys. So this would kind of stimulation or stimulated image we can see in if there is too much of smog or smog disaster. Delhi is, smog capital. There is so much of pollution in Delhi. So effects due to smog or even air pollution as a whole, basically this slide is all about smog. It can cause headaches, eye, nose and throat irritation. It may cause lung function impaired, coughing and wheezing. It can cause deterioration of rubber and fabrics. It can cause damage to plants leading to loss of crops, causes inflammation of upper respiratory tract. So control of air pollution, what can be done for the control of air pollution? Mainly control of air pollution can be undertaken through restricted and rational use of resources, right? So other control strategies are adsorption, that is the main layer gets attached with the particulate matters of air pollution. It is not absorption, it is adsorption, right? So what can be done, what can be used? Activated charcoal, silica gel, resins. So activated charcoal you might have seen in the advertisements of Fair and Lovely and all, I guess. we have activated carbon and all. It's all lies. Okay, don't believe in that. Silica gel, you might have seen in the new shoes packets and all, right? Do not eat, we will have something like that, so those can be used. Next is absorption. The soluble gases are allowed dissolved in liquid. Water is the most important medium for absorption. Next, condensation. Hydrocarbons and organic compounds having reasonably low vapor pressure at ambient temperature. The satisfactory control of them can be harnessed by water or cooled condenser. So hydrocarbons and organic compounds, if they are condensed, they can be cooled down. The pollution from them can be also reduced. Chemical reaction can also be done. So at the time of chemical reaction, we can control the efficiency of the reaction by using catalysts. Incineration. The combustible material in waste gases is fed into equipment operating under high temperature so that these material will be oxidized into CO2 and H2O. Carbon dioxide and water will be generated. So if we compare carbon monoxide or sulfur dioxide or nitrogen oxide, carbon dioxide is relatively less harmful. So incineration does that. Next is settling chambers. The heavier particles of gas, when passed through these chambers, it will settle down. It will have fabrics, and because of the fabrics, the particulate matters or air pollutants, whatever are there, it will be blocked by those fabrics, and that fabric will be taken up, and we will have, due to gravity and many of the settlers, those particulate matters can be taken out. Electrostatic precipitator. The air or gas stream is allowed to pass through a chamber having charged plates. These plates attract the particles of opposite charges, and when charge of the plate is retracted, the particles get precipitated, so they will be removed. Ions or positively charged ions, right, those things, it will be attracted towards each other and we can remove it. So this is how a incineration or incinerator looks like. Electrostatic precipitator, this is how it looks like. So because of air pollution, there is impact on vegetation. Air pollutants affect plants by entering through stomata, right, destroy chlorophyll and affect photosynthesis. Pollutants also erode waxy coating of leaf called as cuticle, which prevents excessive water loss and damage of diseases, pest, drought and frost. So that cuticle is very important for the plants, and even they will be destroyed because of the pollutants present in air pollution, right. Damage to leaf structure causes necrosis, right, chlorosis, epinasty and abscission. So as you can see, necrosis, a part of leaf will be dead. Chlorosis, coloration of or pigmentation will not be there. Epinasty, downward curling of leaves. I will show the pictures, right. Next one is dropping of leaves. So first one, as you can see, necrosis, partially it is dead. Chlorosis, coloration has been decreased, right. This is epinasty, this is how it looks, very nasty, right. So next topic is mainly on waste management. Waste management is how to sort out waste, biological waste, radioactive waste, just the introductory part of waste management, how waste management can be done, we will see. So what are waste? Substances or objects which are disposed of or are intended to be disposed or are required to be disposed. So waste, if I would want to say, which has no commercial value or no useful value, anything which doesn't have any useful value, it will be a waste, right? So classification according to their property and according to their effect, we have classification. This is actually a very huge topic, but we will just see the basics of it. So according to property, wastes are biodegradable and non-biodegradable. According to effect, hazardous and non-hazardous. Next is solid waste. As you can see, all the waste, that is newspapers, bottles, harpic, etc., or everything, almost everything, whatever we have as of now, paper, books, that is previous semester's books, and everything, basically everything. One solid waste is almost everything. So that is, these are some of the example or pictures for your reference. You know that, right? Solid waste. So this is demolition, construction and demolition waste, and because of waste we have animals will be affected and they will also die. So it should be managed properly. So elements of solid waste management, how can we manage solid waste? So waste generation, first step, it is waste will be generated. Next, handling and sorting at the source itself. Next, it is the collection. Next, separation and it should be processed. Next, it has to be transported and transferred. Next, if possible, energy can be generated at the time of incineration. Incineration is nothing but burning of the waste, and because of that we get heat, and due to that we can produce some energy, right? Last is disposal. So methods of waste disposal, how it can be done. First one is source reduction, right? Next, landfills, incineration, composting and recycling. As much as possible we have to recycle. Next topic is e-waste. Waste electrical and electronic equipments, whole or in part, or rejects from their manufacturing and repair process, which are intended to be discarded, right? So all the e-waste from the electronic items. So telecommunication waste, electric telecommunication and EMC are both same, I guess. So waste from those, electrical waste, electronic waste, cable waste, right? Your mobile phones, even that will become an electronic waste. There are many of the rare metals which is present in your phone as of now. So as much as possible use it more and more. Don't discard it, at least sell it in OLX or so, right? So at the source itself the solid waste has to be maintained, right? So yeah, treating of e-waste, how it can be done: incineration, landfilling, reusing and recycling. So other than that, from the mobile phones, they are also, gold is also extracted from mobile phones. I will put a video on extraction of gold from mobile phones in Google Classroom. Interested students can watch it. Next topic is biomedical waste, any waste which is generated during diagnosis, treatment or immunization of human beings or animals, or in research activity, or in production or testing of biological fluids. Everything which is coming from hospitals, research centers, right, which mainly constitutes living matter. From the living matter is biomedical waste. So as you can see, discarded human body parts or living being body parts, they are biomedical waste. Medicines, the bandage or the fuss, even the syringes. Okay, just one time use of syringes will be done, right? They will be discarded. They produce a lot of waste. Biomedical waste, or management of biomedical waste is a big question. It is very difficult to manage biomedical waste because they have very high BOD. Okay, very high BOD, and these needles and all, they are very hazardous when discarded, right? So treatment of biomedical waste, what could be done? So we can 85 to 90% of waste could be incinerated, but temperature should be 900 to 1000 degrees centigrade Celsius, right? It is so high. Autoclaving, what is autoclaving? Treating microbiology lab waste, blood and body fluid waste sharps. So in autoclaving, mainly minimum 121 centigrade of temperature at 105 kilopascal pressure for 1 hour, it has to be subjected to. Next one we can do is shredding. So used to destroy plastic and paper to prevent reuse. Shredder cut the waste into small pieces and they can be disposed of. So the volume of the waste has to be first reduced, right? So for example, your car, it's a 30-year-old car and you want to sell it, nobody is buying it, you dispose it off. So car, it has a huge volume, so it has to be crushed, and because of crushing, the reduction in the volume will be there, and it can't be disposed of easily, right? So this was all about module number 3. So there is no part 2 for this module number 3, only part 1 module number 3, right? We will meet in the next class. We will see whether we can do a live class or we can continue recorded itself.